Really last minute here, guys. Welcome back to ShredMentor Live. I'm your host, Jason Aaron Wood, and boy, am I unprepared today. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. It would be a real shame if you can't. Yeah, see, haven't plugged the guitar in. I was doing some setup work for tonight, and ran all the way up until 8 o'clock, and there's some noise on the line. Oh, yeah. Very nice. Yeah, see? Just for you. Okay. But it's because I care. All right, tonight, anyway, welcome back to ShredMentor Live. I'm your host, Jason Aaron Wood, and tonight we're going to be talking about something more important that people often don't think about too much because we get caught up in the normal way of rhythm being communicated in a written way. Hey, Matthew, thanks, man, and welcome. So the thing is, what we're going to talk about tonight are rhythmic numbers, because most of the time when people think about rhythm, they're thinking about playing steadily. And while that is obviously part of it, it's actually the lesser part of it than the accenting. And the accenting is based on smaller, shorter groupings. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of setup work for what I was trying to do real quick. But essentially, okay, like when we talk about rhythmic numbers, what are they? They're basically, well, if you caught the show last week, it's basically best to go with 2, 3, 4, and 6 when you possibly can, okay? And hold on, I'm gonna set a couple things up real quick so we can get this stuff on and off the screen real quick. There's that. Sorry. I made a bunch of stuff disappear and then couldn't get it to come back. So let's see here. There we go. There we go. Sorry, give me just a minute and this will be much better. So yeah, basically, rhythmic numbers are going to be the things that will enable you, by my definition, to pretty much generate music very quickly and also be able to kind of pick out what is actually going on. There we go. Nice. Okay, let me just get back out of that, and this should work okay. All right. Yeah, not working, but we'll get it there. Anyway, first rhythmic number. Right there. So 2, 3, 4, and 6. I guess I'm going to have to do that a bunch of times because I just didn't have enough time to set this up tonight and thought of the idea way late. So that's kind of where I left off with when we did our music theory hacks last week, is to sort of focus on quantities of 2, 3, 4, and 6. Because that's going to account for most of your time signatures and most of the ways that we subdivide a given beat. So if you take a quarter note, you can divide it into 2. That'll be 2 eighth notes, or divide it into 3 eighth note triplets, or divide it into 4. Those are 16th notes. Divided into 6. Those are 16th note sextuplets. So, or 16th note triplets. However you want to look at it, I think of it as 2 separate accents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 being the triplet version, or 1 and 2 and 3 and kind of be how that would be how I would deal with a more sextuplet thing, because it's based on the doubling up the eighth note triplets. Okay, so that's kind of our first one, and I just want to kind of reiterate what I'm talking about here. Sorry, still setting up a couple things. Oh yeah, okay, that's how I'm going to do it. A bunch of stuff on the screen there. What the hell is that? Terrible. That's really big, isn't it? That's not supposed to be that way. Don't know what's up there. Yeah, don't know what happened there. Anyway. I'll just get rid of that. We'll talk about that through the end. Sorry. I'm really disorganized. Very, very sorry about that, guys. Anyway, okay, so beyond that, though, okay, that mostly it's a way to subdivide beats, but it's also, these are kind of the main numbers of most of your common time signatures. And I'm omitting things like 8, which is obvious, because that's just more 4s. And as we'll see a little later, it's also some other combinations. So it can also be a couple other things, okay? And this is where I'll talk about a few other things that we can deal with, like these rhythmic numbers. They're all over the place, but these are still the main rhythmic numbers. What we're really talking about is total phrase length, okay? So I mean, in the end, you're probably going to be dealing with some multiple of 3 or 4. That really is what most of our common time signatures are. The one actually referred to as common time is 4/4. So that's just 4 beats per measure. You're going to probably subdivide it into 2 or 4. So 8 notes and 16 notes most of the time. So that really does account for most musical scenarios. See, I'm really, really disorganized. That's me reminding myself that the show is supposed to start and I press snooze. Anyway, that's okay. I'm here to teach you about rhythm, not organization tonight. And preparing yourself in time. Okay, so I think with these numbers on screen, what I would say is, like, let's look at how to arrive at those numbers, especially the bigger ones. Okay, I actually made these smaller quantities smaller on the screen too. So the big ones are 16, 24, 32, even 12, even 8. You know, there are multiple ways to get there once you start dealing with numbers that are at least the size of 8, because, yeah, 4 and 4, that's a quick one. What about 2, 2, 2, and 2? That's another way you can get to 8. Or what about 3 plus 3, which is 6, plus 2, which is 8? So you can start getting different rhythmic quantities and therefore different accenting patterns based on this one principle. And here it is. Pay close attention. You always accent the first note of the grouping. That's it. Okay, so if I'm doing 3s, even if it was just one note. All right, if it was 4s, right? 2. It's kind of a short grouping, but, you know, 6. I got a case of the crazy downstrokes tonight. I don't know why, but anyway, that's what we're ultimately doing. So once you get to kind of big numbers past that, you know, you hear it as 8, and I am accenting 1 out of every 8, but it's in my head I'm actually playing 2 sets of 4. I'm just accenting only the first note of every first set of 4, and I'm playing the second set of 4 that way. So I want you to understand the mental mechanics of what is making that a much more manageable thing. Because I could theoretically go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The problem there, it's not unmanageable, but the number 7 has 2 syllables. So you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? That's 9. Because you could throw yourself off. It's not that big a deal. But 7, if you're actually going to say the whole word 7, it might throw your ass off. So keep that in mind too. I just find anything that goes past 6 kind of more of a cumbersome thing to count out loud. And I do encourage you to count out loud at least as you get used to these. Obviously, once you start playing fast, you're not going to be counting out loud, because speaking as fast as you're able to play just isn't happening. So your verbal speed limit is a lot lower than your potential speed for picking or playing whatever. Okay, so guitar speed is just in a way higher range than speaking. So there's going to be a point where you can't. But I would recommend that as you're getting used to these, that you start counting out loud. I know it probably feels silly. Doesn't matter. Do it. Because the point is to internalize it. Okay, so it's more important that you internalize this stuff by being absolutely hyper aware of exactly what beat you're playing, and being very aware of when beat 1 of whatever that little short grouping is, 2, 3, 4, or 6 probably, than it is for whoever in the room happens to hear you practicing and doing it effectively. If they think that's silly and want to make fun of you for it, they're an asshole, and they also don't know what they're talking about. So screw them and their opinion. Or lock them out of your practice room so they don't have to hear it, or you don't have to see them judging you, or whatever. You know, you get better friends. Anyway. See? Life advice, too. So anyway, that is kind of the basis here. How do we arrive at these bigger lengths, though? Okay, so 16. Yes, 4, 4, 4, 4. That's a quick one, right? That's why they're called 16th notes. That's how that breaks down. In a measure of 4, 4, a 16th note is 1/16 of a measure. So that's why it's called that. But there are a lot of ways we can get there. We're going to get to these a little bit later, but I just want you to be clear that what we're kind of trying to do is come up with ways to arrive at that number, and it doesn't have to be the most obvious one. That's not the only way, because once you're dealing with larger numbers like 16, anything actually higher than 8, even 8, you can get to by a couple of different ways. 2 3s and a 2, which means 3, then 2, like this. That's 2 of them, but 3, then 2, then 3. And then, sorry. You know what? In a lesson about rhythm, I should really turn off my delay. Sorry. I love delay, so it's hard to make myself do it. Anyway, though. Okay, so yeah. So over and over, the 3, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. All right, and then you also have 2, 3, 3. 2, 3, 3. 2, 3, 3. 2, 3, 3. It kind of sounds like 3, 3, 2, which is 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2. Right? It's essentially that, but you're starting on the 2. So against a drum beat, this would actually sound a little bit different. I should probably be using the drum beats, but I just don't want to. Okay, so here's the thing. How do you even know which numbers they should be, right? You know, when you're trying to get up to something like that, again, stick with 2, 3, 4, and 6 to get there. In fact, really 6 is even kind of big. All right? It's handy. Yeah, it's a bigger one. It depends on what you're trying to do and how big the number is, because you're only going to fit so many 6s into a number. Like, the highest number I have on the screen here is 32, which is fine. Closest, basically what I do is I kind of look for like the nearest multiple. All right, so 32. What's the closest multiple of 6 to 32? 30. 5 times 6 is 30, and I have 2 more notes to get after that. So I could do a sequence of 6 5 times 4, 5, right? That's 32. And I'll do a final note. Really, I tend to do a +1 on every one of these numbers because I want there to be a final note that feels like punctuation. So 5 sets of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2 more notes. So the whole thing would be that. I guess I could force it to be 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, and I guess it kind of breaks up the whole reason for maybe doing that, but I was able to generate a phrase very quickly by starting with 6, reaching for a sequence that I know gives me 6, but now that I have that, I could force this to sound like 1. Right, so so hopefully you can hear that 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a kind of thing going on there. Okay, 24. That's going to be a multiple of 8. Well, actually, what's great about 24 is I'm going to get to this in a second here, but it's a multiple of 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 12. It's a magic number, but only because 12 is a magic number, which we're going to get to in a second. So yeah, usually reach for multiples of 2 and 3. Or sorry, 3 and 4. 4 is a multiple of 2, so, anyway. But 3 and 4 are kind of obviously, they're already well known as our 2 main sort of time signature numbers. 4, 4, and 3, 4, the 2 possibly the two most common time signatures, although 6/8 is at least as common. So there it is, right? 3, 4, and 6 right there. 2 is a small number, but it's so common because it's nice. Notice how I just had to add 2 notes onto the end of that. I got to 30. I'm aiming for 32, but I got 6 note phrases times 5. That's 30. I'm almost there, and I'll just make up the difference. 2 is so easy to just grab 2 notes you can reach. So it's an important number, but it's so small, so short. It's hard to really come up with a lot of really good phrases of 2 notes. So I kind of treat 2 as just sort of like an add-on. I don't even think about it, but yeah, 2 sort of operates as like an add-on because it's such a short quantity. It's more like, okay, got to make up the difference. Give me 2 notes. And it was just the 2 notes I had just played previous to the note I landed on. I just ran out of notes in the 3 note per string phrase and just turned around and went back the way I came. So right through those same notes again. So it can be any number, really. Probably a multiple of 3 and 4, but really, actually, it could also be polymeter. Just looking at my notes here, just to remember, it could be like this many beats over this many beats. So it's like you're playing a different time signature at the same tempo as another time signature going on in the background. This is very common for things like, Meshuggah made that, the math metal thing very popular, and it's not like they were the first to do it. King Crimson was doing it decades before them. Polymeter is basically the overlaying of different time signatures at the same time, and eventually everybody in the band is going to have to decide which beat their thing ends on. One person, maybe at most, possibly, gets to actually do a complete measure. Everybody else has to cut their measure off short somewhere or add a partial measure, which is the same difference really. But there's always that, and that's a really nice way to challenge yourself rhythmically too, in terms of keeping track of where you are, even while what you're listening to and playing along to is actually, like, your accent isn't aligning with it in the same place every time you have a repeat, because they're not the same length. Eventually you play it. If I have a 7/4 thing, okay, and I play it over 4/4, if I play the 7/4 thing 4 times, it probably will line up. Or if I play the 4/4 thing 7 times, they will eventually start on the same beat again. It's just a question of whether that's way too many repeats to put in a song before you lose your listeners' patience. So keep that in mind. There's real world stuff here. Do keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to hide that one and move on here a little bit to the next one, which I will now have to drag out onto here as well. Yep, that's me hand dragging it. Okay, power of 12. I did mention a moment ago that the number 12 is really magical. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate this now real quick. Let's jump over to Guitar Practice Tools for a second. Oh yeah, there we are. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my practice beats, and then I'm going to jump over to the actual Power of 12 workout. Okay, and I'm going to just take something that I know is 12. Let me think. 12. The sequence of thirds played from one note up to its octave. By the moment you hit the octave of the note you started on, that is 12. All right, I'll start from A. Again, A harmonic minor. Sequence of thirds is 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5. Every note that you play, every second note that you play is the third of the note you played before. Okay, so it happens, this is one where you can come up with twos. This is one, really the only sequence I can think of that the phrases are just 2 notes each. So you can cut it off halfway in between too, but anyway, it's 1 to 3. All right, then you go down a note, then you go 2 notes higher than that, that's a third. 2, 3, 4, that's a third. So from A, the next, when I hit that A, that's 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm going to use that in this Power of 12 workout. I am not going to start up at 220 because I want it to be, sensible here. I'm going to do 130. Okay, so what this one does is basically there's a 4 count, and the 4 count leads you into what feels like triplets in 4/4. So it's going to 12 is 4 times through a set of 3. Okay, So I'll talk about the quantity of sets and then how many beats are in it. Okay, so 4 beats worth of what feels like triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now the thing is, though, it doesn't change speed at all. The next one is going to be 6s. Okay, it's going to be like 16th notes in 6/8. All right, 6/8 is just counting the 8th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what we're doing is doubling that up. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so those are 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's going to be 6s, and it's going to do each of these 4 times, by the way. So 4 times through the triplet sound, 4 times through the sextuplet sound, 3s, then 6s, and then you guessed it, 4s, because these are just the 3 main multiples of 12. Or sorry, these are these are the 3 main numbers that multiply up to become 12. Okay, so 4 times 3. There you go. So the 6s, I just basically I have 2 phrases of 6. For the 3s, I have 4 phrases of 3. For the 4s, I have 3 phrases of 4. So I play that more like 16th notes in 3, 4. Well, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and. All right. So I love the 12 thing because this is a great way to get 3 times as much mileage out of your vocabulary. Okay. So, and that's the big part of it. If you take a look up here at the top here, technique and vocabulary. This is the very first pillar out of 3 in the Total Artist Development System. So if you've been hearing me talk about that for a while, or if you're in it, or you're thinking about starting up in it, this is part of your vocabulary. And this is a great way to get a lot more mileage, as I said, about it. So you out of the things that you learn how to play. So it's not, you don't have to like come up with one idea for every moment in every song and then like, oh, I can't ever use that again because I used that in that song. Nope, that is, I mean, you could be like that. You're just making a lot more work for yourself. Anyway, here's how this works out. I'm going to arbitrarily choose 130 and hope I don't crash and burn. Let's see what happens. Three, 4, 6s. Now 4s. 4. Back to 3s. 6. Here comes the 4s. So that's what that's like. That's the Power of 12 workout, number 1. I had a more complicated one. But yeah, that's tiring, just doing it like so. Number 1 was good enough, and I never really added the more complicated one. I'll let you know what the more complicated one was, though, because this ties right into the rhythmic numbers thing. It's how, again, going back to how do we arrive at those numbers, okay? So that was 3 different ways of arriving at 12, which is what I really love about it. Because they're common rhythms. Once again, just 3s, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. That could be 8th notes in 6/8, or in 12/8, or 9/8 even, or it could be triplets, 8th note triplets in 4/4, 2/4, 3/4, whatever the hell you want, really. So it feels like subdividing a given beat into 3. You can write it in a number of different ways. None of them are necessarily wrong. Some of them might give you the ability to later also go into triplets if the number is already a multiple of 3, like in 6/8 or 12/8. If I start playing just 8th notes, I already have a 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 kind of feeling going on. But those are actual regular 8th notes, not triplets. So I can then subdivide 2 8th notes worth into 3, and I can get, 3 sets of triplets, right? Because that's still how 6/8 breaks down. There were 6 regular 8th notes. That's going to be 50% more triplets. So there will be 9 subbeats per beat in 6/8 with triplets. How the hell you accent that? I would just suddenly make it feel like 9/8 or 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. I'd probably just do it like triplets in 3/4. Because I don't know what the hell I would do with that, really, to be honest. I've never really done it because it just seems like something I don't really need to do. So I have never done it. Okay, so yeah, sorry. So as I promised to say and didn't do it yet, the more complicated version of the Power of 12 workout, like what I just did on the screen there, is it adds 2 other complicated levels, which are 5s, or a 5 and a 7. All right, so your accenting would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I don't have the beat for it, so I can't show it to you, but that's, you know, so. And then it goes the other way around. Then 7, so you actually have a moment where you're doing 2 7s in a row, and then a 5. So that's 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 12 too. So that's another way that I just never made the beat, and it's probably been at least 10 years. I'm probably not going to do it. I don't know. Maybe one day I will. I might make a beat that's just the 5 and the 7, because that's a really fun prog technical kind of sounding thing, but it just I forget about it, and then I don't get around to it. So hey, what's up, man? How you doing, Scott? Timing is the same, but you're accenting on different notes. Yes. So what I did here is, when I made this, it's basically 12/16. That's the actual time signature. I did the whole thing in. They're all actually 16th notes, but I just moved the accents around just so that you can get these different feels out of it. So that's sort of the trick, because what this is for is to be able to develop it to just randomly switch from any one of these time signatures into the feel of those other time signatures. So yeah, it is exactly whatever the subbeat is that we call it. They're actually all 16th notes. It was the 12/16 time signature because I had to pick one, and I just sequenced a beat to be a little bit different, X number of times through it. So yeah, good question. I'm glad you asked that, because that it's important for the clarity on that. Yeah, every single subbeat is exactly the same pace, one tempo all the way through, and that unit length remains constant. It's just how I'm grouping it together. All right, so that's the Power of 12. Is there an instance where the accenting changes in the same song? So any one of my solos, yes, I do it all the time. Solos, therefore, that also influenced me. They're very numerous. Wasn't prepared for that question, but yes, it definitely happens frequently. Anybody that plays with a great deal of groove and syncopation, which are probably the same thing, I guess. That you will find this everywhere. Yngwie does it. John Petrucci does it. Every name guitarist that is a shredder does that all the time, and they don't need to be like a virtuoso of that type either. I mean, you'll find this in kind of everything. Shred makes it a little bit easier to take a phrase like that, because it's just a string. It's weird to say shred makes anything easy, but shred consists of a lot of the same length note, just in a crazy long string. So there's all 16th notes in what I just played, for example. Okay, so it makes it easier to just start popping accents in different places, as long as you've planned out how that's the right quantity for that to work out that way too. So I can just basically start treating 12 like with 4 sets of 3, 2 sets of 6, 3 sets of 4, a 5 then a 7 then a 5, and as long as I practice each of those independently, where it's just I can just 5 and then 7, I can just very quickly get that sound. I might, depending on how complicated what I'm doing on the other hand is, and syncing both hands up, that can become more complicated, and therefore kind of lower the tempo I'm able to do it at. But I can generally get that rhythmic feel anywhere. And yeah, it's very, very common to do that kind of thing. That is part of where the rhythmic interest in what you do is going to come from. So whenever I talk about kind of just breathing, or rhythmic breath of life, I've talked about that a couple of times. Try to, whatever you're playing, try to turn it into a rhythm pattern as soon as possible. Think of what we're talking about here as part of the criteria when you go to do that. All right, great question, Scott. Thank you. And forgot if I said, but welcome to the show, man. Thanks. I'm glad to see you here tonight. Okay, so that's the Power of 12, and it works pretty well. You can kind of do that same workout Well, that's built right into the guitar practice tools there. You saw where I was on, let's see, where's my guitar practice tools? Main menu, you go to my backing tracks, and that'll take you straight to the beats page, and then you go to your drop down menu. Okay, and it's down about this far. I'm sure you cannot see the actual menu on screen because of the way that it captures the video, but that is, if you can see how far down my mouse is from where the drop down menu appears to be, that's how far down it is on the list. It's the 5th one from, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 below it. So it's the 5th one from the bottom right now. And as you see, there's quite a range of different things. And so these fast ones, it's probably really good to do something pretty simple or single string type thing. So if I do like a 210 here, or 200, yeah. 2, 3, 1, 2, 2. So that's better for like single string type stuff, or just seeing if you can keep up with what you're trying to do at on a single string or something like that. At that speed, I wouldn't be doing the other things I did. You know, that sequence of thirds at that speed, it was just going to be a big mess. So I'm not going to do it here. I'll practice working up to it at some point. But yeah, so different speeds for different skills in a way. There's different skills have a different speed ceiling. It's probably a more accurate way to say that. You can always push the ceiling, but inherently you'll find that certain skills have a different speed ceiling, and single string stuff will be the easiest to get the absolute fastest because the pick doesn't have any weaving, doesn't have anywhere else to be at all, and everything is just over here just trying to keep track of what you're doing and keep the pick strokes steady. That's where the steadiness obviously comes from, and it comes into play rather. So as I said at the beginning of this, most people when they think of rhythm think about playing steadily. Yes, it's important obviously, but it's not as important as the accenting. You know, when a real band plays together, unless they have an actual click, they're going to be, you know, wavering around a certain tempo range. It's not going to be just one locked in tempo. And, you know, prior to the mid-90s and later recording age, that's pretty much what music always sounded like. Okay, so I think that pretty much solves the Power 12. Oh yeah, one last thing about the Power 12. I do want to talk about this too because this is kind of a fun thing. It doesn't have to it doesn't have to be limited just to stuff that's 12 subbeats long. It could be multiples of 12. It can also be like 6, but you just have to do it. So if you did it with a 6-note phrase, you know, you're just going to have to do everything twice as many times. If I do a phrase that's 24, I'm going to do it half as many times because that's twice 12, right? That's the middle string zigzag. I'll probably do that on the faster side. Let's just kill myself and do 200. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Okay, so it's going to be triplets. So when you do it with threes, I'm going to let you in as much as my thought process as possible. When I do threes, I need to keep track of the alternating direction of my accent every time, because 3 is an odd number. So down, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, down, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I got to do it half as many times, so I got to keep track of that too. And then when it comes to the 6s, 1 and 2 and 3 and the 1 is a harder accent than the 2 and 3, but the 2 and 3 are both, they're all downstrokes. All the accents happen on downstrokes, but the main accent is a little louder than the sort of sub accents on 2 and 3. And all the upstrokes are quieter than that even. All right, so the upstrokes are all quieter. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So there's a hierarchy of accenting, and the first beat is always the loudest, unless you're doing a cool syncopation thing where it's specifically not the accent. But that's another thing for another place. If we have time at the end of this, I'll throw it in. if I remember. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's do it. Fours. Holy shit. I was going to censor myself and not say shit. And I felt like, no, fuck that. I'm going to say shit. And then I'm going to say fuck. Because I'm a half an hour and more into the show. So yeah. And it merited it. Because that's what that felt like. So, remember what I said about single string stuff being more likely to... You'll be able to hit a higher speed ceiling with the single string stuff. The longer you can keep your pick on one string, the better. That is a very linear melody. Okay, so even though it's, you know, it looks like I'm moving around a lot, I'm moving around quite a lot on one string. It's, yeah, I got 3 notes here, and I jump right here, but here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I get to really kind of build up some momentum being on that middle string there. Thanks, Scott. So yeah, so that's why I decided I'm just gonna go for it. I don't know. You never know. I did struggle. It probably sounded like it during the 4s at the end because it's just such a weird sound, and I think the beat that I actually put in there, I don't know. I feel like if I jumped in, if I made this beat again, which I probably will, one day, maybe that's what I'll do the 5s and 7s as well. But if I did that again, I think that the 3 sets of 4, I think I would just do snare 2 3 4, snare 2 3 4, snare 2 3 4, because it's I don't know I don't know if I was smoking weed back then or something when I did this, but I decided to do, you know, like hi-hat 2 3 4, hi-hat 2 3 4, snare, and like the snare comes in on beat 3 of every measure, and it's really hard. Or maybe at least 1 E into 2 E into 3 E, snare 2 3 1 2 3, snare 2 3. At least that would have been a little bit easier to keep track of. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I probably was smoking weed because this is like 10 years ago, and I smoked a lot of weed at that point. I can't handle it anymore, so I don't smoke weed at all anymore. No judging. Not for me anymore. And I do know that I can write music just fine without it, which is something I've come to terms with. I used to tell myself that I couldn't, but whatever. Anyway, I made some bad decisions once in a while doing it, like that accenting choice. So anyway, yeah. I reserve the right to go on a random tangent while doing this stuff. So this is my fun time with you guys too. Okay, so that's the power of 12 in a huge ass nutshell. So let's move on. Once again, I'm going to go back here and okay, we got our power of 12. Very nice. That's number 6. That'll be there when we need it. That's number 5. That's there when we need it. Well, we'll see this all in a minute. None of these are where they need them. All right, sorry. It'll be there. It'll happen soon. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to start getting into sort of more like compound rhythm patterns. And I already talked about this one. I will actually use a drum beat for this one. And, yeah, so 3, 3, and 2. I think I'm just going to leave this up on the screen as it is. And I'll use 16th notes and 4 4 for the next several of these. I've got like 5 options here. Okay, so I want you to remember these formulas because these are what really cool rhythm patterns are sort of built on the same way as a common chord progression. You know, you can use it and get lots and lots of mileage out of it. These patterns I'm about to show you now, the next 5 here, are really, really useful, and you can get lots and lots of mileage out of them, and you can do other cool things with them too, like differently subdivide them and throw gallops and stuff into them. But for the most part, I'll just show it to you as it is. Okay, so I'll do 4 4 16th notes. I'm going to keep it on the slower side, slow to moderate, 100 BPM. The 16th notes will be 1 E and a 2 E. All right, so that's 4s though. If I do 3, 3, and 2, I could also play just on the accents, so I get this. So I'll go back and forth between them. 2, 3, 4. So same basic feel. Oops. Same basic feel. And same accenting pattern, but I'm holding notes out instead of actually playing on the 16th notes. So that's kind of how that works. Hey, Mike, good to see you, man. Welcome back. Good way to wind down after work. All right, so that was the 3-3-2. I'm going to slow it down even a little bit more because they're 16th notes. So, yeah, that's sort of what that's going to be. So that's definitely going to have to be a little slower. But let's try 70. So here's our basic 3, 2, 3, 3, 2. Right. So I could probably do that a little faster. Let's try 90. So I like to start with the basic 3, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right? So, applying gallops for the first 2 subbeats. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2. That's basically 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. That's basically what I'm doing a little slower there. Yeah. It's a little bit of a mind twister on that one. I gotta work on that one myself a little bit longer. But anyway, yeah, that's the 3-3-2. What's kind of cool too, all right, is you can also skip beat 2. So it's almost like dun 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 dun. So that you can derive different rhythm patterns out of this. So basically the trick is only play on subbeats 1 and 3 of the grouping. And if you're on the grouping where there's only 2, there is no 3. So 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1 is sort of how that kind of breaks down. So I'm taking 8 and I'm breaking it into a set of 3, a set of 3, and then a set of 2. And by having that first set of 3 being an odd number, it's basically 1 and 2 and 3 and. The and of beat 2 actually gets an accent, so it creates a built-in syncopation. So that's why I want you to start to memorize and use. Don't just memorize them and just leave them in your brain because you'll forget about them. Use them, build something on them using the kinds of things I'm showing you right now. Okay, so this is where you might as well grab a guitar and try this if you're not already jamming along. Okay, so that's 3-3-2. That's not the one. That's next. We'll come to that other one if you saw it. 6-6-4. Okay? It's basically the same thing we just did, but doubled up. So. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So if you were doing the all downstroke version of 3-3-2, and then decide to fill in the missing upstroke in between your downstrokes, this is what you get. All right, so let's get the beat going here. Let's try 120. gotta do it fast. Don't know where that came from, but that was fun. Okay, so yeah, just to give you a taste of what that could be like up there in black metal zone. Yeah, that's really fun. Is this like the Formula 224 for a rock style for the timing? Kind of, but well, it's purposely using odd numbers in order to cause you to start your next accented first beat on an upbeat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so by anytime. All right, so if you just tap along to the beat, your numbers, you know, those will be your downbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just automatically that's what the feel is going to be. But we don't have to leave it that way. So we don't want to purposely try to accent one of those and beats. So with 3, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. It's just automatic. So just by accenting the first note of the grouping of 3, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, automatically against that a normal 4/4 type of beat, you're going to get a different kind of sound going on. So you're automatically going to be accenting a beat that the rest of the band wouldn't be doing, using the, you know, a basic kind of drum pattern or straight feel. That's what it is, a straight feel. Using a straight feel, this will bring out beats that are not in there. Okay, so that's 6/6/4. You can also do a similar type of gallop type thing. I'm not going to do it at 200, but it's actually kind of fun. All right, I'm going to do it slow because I want you to see what I'm doing. So I'll do it like 90. So instead of 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4, I'm going to do actually 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4. Okay, so it's going to be. Okay, so moderate. All right, so that would be the speed, just the demonstration speed. I want the face melting one. Here's 190. Anyway, sometimes I get carried away with the tremolo picking there. So anyway, that's yeah, that's sort of what that is. You've probably heard that a whole bunch of times. It's 210. That's basically it. All right, that's what it feels like, just cranking it all the way to the max as far as what my website features as available BPMs. All right, so that is the 6/6/4. All right, you're basically just, it's still, you know, 1 2 3 4 5 or 1 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. That's still based on 3/3/2. So that's sort of I always think of this as like the 3/3/2 family of rhythm patterns. Okay, because there's a lot of cool stuff you can kind of do. You can mix it up too. You can be like, you know, 1 2 3 1 2 3. You know, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. You know, you can mix it with like, yeah. So it's like sort of doing a 3, a stylized 6, and like a 2 again. Yeah. So you can try different stuff like that. Send out the subject a little bit. But have you ever checked out the Troy Grady technique? You mentioned that, and I forgot all about it. I'm glad you brought it up again. I'm going to add this now. Forgot all about it. Oh man, I'm making all kinds of stuff visible here. I forgot. I set up all of those different all these different keyboard shortcuts to, you know, to make these different things visible before the show. and then now it's just really I don't know. Yeah, I just made by typing that in, it triggered all kinds of stuff to be visible on the screen. So yeah, could I apply the Nile-esque pulsing on the 6s? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just getting the Sorry, I'm thinking of like Among the Catacombs of Nefer and Ka. Like that's, to me, that's my era of Nile. I know it's very, very isolated, but to me, that's all I needed to be a Nile fan right there. That's what came to mind too. So I'm thinking like Ramses, Bringer of War. That's what's kind of coming to mind right now. Like that, there's definitely a cool, I think that's the song I'm thinking of. I listened to it like 1 month ago, and for the first time in like a long time. And there's like a part where, yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on there, and it's like it's a dual guitar harmony thing, but it's like so raw in the way that it's mixed. The guitars are kind of dry, so it's just like in your face, and yeah, if it's the same part I'm thinking of, yeah, absolutely, you can definitely do that. Just push the speed, use the double bass beats right in your account. Yep. That's the one I would do. In fact, I tend to do, when I practice my sextuplets, I usually just use the 8th note triplets, like the 4/4 triplets beat, so it's like the second one in the drop down. That's the one I would definitely recommend using for that. And for those of you who are not currently my student and don't currently have access to guitar practice tools, even if you're not ready for lessons right now, you can get guitar practice tools for, actually it's 30 days free right now. I changed it. It used to be 7 days free, but now you can get a whole month for free, because what's the use holding out? And it's only $10 a month, so you can do all this. If you like what we're doing here tonight, you need these tools. Trust me. This is the best way. Truly, there is no better way than using actual drum beats that sound and feel like music to develop your actual musical skills. Any exercise worth its salt will work with these, and if it doesn't, then, well, you need to think through the rhythm of your exercise, because where the hell are you going to put that in real life? And maybe I just need to make some other beats, but there needs to be some kind of rhythm to everything you do. Anyway, moving on. We got 5 minutes. All right, here is the next one. Okay, this is sort of like the other one, right? 3-3-2, right? But we're doubling up the quantities. 3-3-3-3-2-2. You could think of this as 6-6 and 4. It ultimately adds up. It's not just math, though. Okay, I know that, I knew I ran a risk of turning people off calling tonight's show Rhythmic Numbers, because nothing's more exciting than numbers, right? Ask any accountant. Right. Okay, anyway, so clearly though, but here's the thing, all right? This isn't just about math, okay? This isn't math. It's not even a lot of math. It's the same math over and over. It's getting good at a couple math problems and doing them over and over again, okay? So what I said earlier about how do I arrive at those big numbers, those main numbers like these, 16, 24, 32, 12, even just 8. This is what we're doing right now, okay? We just added up to 8. Okay, and then we added up to 16. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 4 is 16. So you just basically get good at arriving at specific sums. I was going to say products, but we're not multiplying mostly. We're just adding. This is basic addition, not even subtraction most of the time. Mostly it's just addition, and we only need to arrive mostly at these numbers most of the time, or a number very near to them if you're doing some kind of weird odd time thing. Okay, so that said, right, let's go back over to that 3-3-3-3-2-2. I'll pull up my beat, and oh yeah, I wrote down the Troy Grady thing. Thank you once again, Mike. I keep forgetting. I'll try to leave that tab open and not close it. I think I had my browser crash, because I usually don't do that. Anyway, here's 110. I'll do 3-3-3-3-2-2. Oh. You've heard that before, surely. That's a very, very common thing to do. All right, so I'll do a little slower with that one. That's the held out power chords version of the same rhythm. All right, so there's a lot of cool stuff you can kind of do there. Sound of Cannibal Corpse. That sound too. Yeah, every band you've ever heard of in metal does this somewhere, somehow. Okay, you just need to know what you're listening for, and and hopefully, in doing this tonight, you'll be able to kind of recognize these when you hear them again. And it'll all be on screen thanks to the half-ass work I did, at least making these visible. Here's the same concept, but now it's going to be twice as long. 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4. I won't be doing it at that crazy-ass tempo, but I'll double this up. I'll basically start with the 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2 as downstrokes, which means I'm going to do it at 80 BPM at first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, what I kind of did there on purpose was I wanted to point out. All right, so here's, as you look on the screen, okay, 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 4 plus 4. That's, if I wanted to do tremolo, I could apply this to a 6-note phrase. All right, so I'm going to just go a little stupid fast here. I'm going to do 120, but I'm going to do tremolo of the sequence of 6. It's the same one I did earlier when I went, but without that. It's just going to be, all right, so here. No, gotta be the speed I do it. Let's just bring it up faster then. So. The old phrasing fail there. What a shame. I'm not going to do my whole funny video clip there because I was so unorganized when I started that I don't even have my scene switcher set up here today. The drum accent is on the 4s. Yes, it is. It's just 1 yen to 2 yen to 3 yen to 4 yen to 1 yen to 2 yen to 3 yen to 4 yen. Yep. It's always on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 of every measure. Okay, so that's 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4. Let's do. This is a fun one. I'm going to do it a little bit. First, I'm going to. Yeah, I'll do it a little slower. And I'm talking a lot of like heavy stuff, but I'm actually going to use a power metal reference in a minute. Warning! I like a tiny bit of certain power metal. Anyway, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2. There's like a. When you're, I don't know, when you go on vacation to Florida or something and you do that dance, or dun 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 dun, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1 2. That's basically 3 3 4 2 2 2. All right, that I'm just doing this like pseudo thrashy theme here every time, just to kind of give you an idea of how this might work in a riff. Right. Just to give it an idea, give you an idea of how that might actually work. You can use harmonics, you can do whatever. You can also bring those beats out again. So anyway, building it up, further subdividing it. Now I'm going to give you my little power metal reference. It's faster than that. It's from Luca Turilli. Okay, Luca Turilli is the guitar player from, or was originally back when Rhapsody of Fire was just one band and it was called Rhapsody. He was the guitar player. I don't really like Rhapsody very much. The musical sound isn't that different from what's going on in Luca Turilli's solo project, but his first solo album, and the name escapes me right now, King of the Northern Twilight, I'm guessing? Something about Northern Twilight. I forget. I think it was a pretty good, solid album, and I like the vocalist that he put on that album a lot. A lot more than the guy from Rhapsody. Sorry, guy from Rhapsody. It's just not into your voice, but enjoy your awesome success anyway, please. I'm not saying that they suck. I'm just not into that band. And so anyway, there's a really cool opening riff on, well, the first heavy song on the album, which is Black Dragon. It's in D minor, and it basically uses this. The reason I'm talking about it is it's basically except it's more like yeah. Yeah, the 7 string's throwing me off today. Yeah, but it's way up there. I'm gonna guess like 190-ish. Actually, that's faster than the riff. That's good. I feel happy. Anyway, that. I feel like it's actually it's somewhere between there. Maybe it was 180, but that's the gist. Let's see. Judas Priest to the core. Nice. Was it? I don't know, because I don't listen to Judas Priest. Never quite did it for me. I don't know why, because all of the elements are there. On paper, I should like that band. I've just never really, it's never grabbed me like a lot of bands from the same time period in the same era. Their most recent album, where they, that was pretty kick-ass, I will say that. But I don't know it, so if I accidentally channeled it, that's great. But that's just shows that there's a common thread through a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it's going to come down to the cool rhythm patterns that you use when you do this stuff. Running a little over, but I'm going to just go ahead and go through the last couple. Now we're going to talk about odd time. I'm not going to use beats for this one because I don't, frankly, have that many odd time beats here. So sorry, I'll work on that. 2 plus 3, what is that? That is 5. If you want to do a 5/8, 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. So 5, odd number. So every time you start this pattern, it's going to be in the opposite direction. When you do your 2, every other time, it's going to be in the opposite direction. So if I start it on the down, 2, 3, up, down, up, or down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. It's really hard to talk and play like this. Anyway, so 2 and 3, that's another one. So there is that. 2, 2 and 3, that'll be 7. So that's if you ever want, this is the most direct 7/8 kind of feel. So you get used to it. It's weird, but if you just play the same rhythm pattern over and over and over again, even these are really not that particularly hard. But you do have to anticipate the odd numbered quality of it too. I'm going to leave you off with one last one here, which is just that one, which is just totally resized for some crazy reason. I don't know why. There it is. It's huge. Can't miss it. It's on the screen. 3 plus 3 plus 3. 9. Okay. Let's get. It's ugly. I don't want to look at it. 3s times 3. So. this almost feels normal, but you're going to be doing 3 beats worth of the triplet type feel. So it's going to, basically, here's a quick way you can do this, right? If I want to experience this with something that doesn't have any string skipping or anything like that, I can basically take 9, right? I'm going to actually do 10 notes. So that way I get 9 notes up, go up a note, and go 9 notes back. All right, so I'm going to do a 10 note ascending and descending loop. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. In fact, if you do it that way, you get to economy pick the whole time. So down, 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 up, 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 down. So yeah, you can use economy picking for that one, or I could have done it the harder way and take that 10th note and just put it on a separate string by itself. Down, 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 up, up, up. Down. No, I'm saying that, but that's actually, I did pure alternate picking, so that's not how that worked. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I'm just selectively talking about the pick stroke where I do the accent, first of every 3. All right, so that's a couple different ways that you can kind of do these, but I just wanted to walk you through the thinking that goes with these, because this is, all you have to do is assign some notes. It's the foundation is this. The foundation is there. If you have this stuff, you can color it in however you want, and boom, you have your own music. Pick a tempo, which is the energy level. Pick how you're going to approach it. Are you going to play on every subbeat? If so, are you going to do it with palm muting, or are you going to do it with just regular picking, or are you going to do it with legato? Can you get those accents just loud enough where they sound a little bit louder than the other hammer-ons and pull-offs? Because accenting with legato is a little difficult. Audibly, at least, accenting audibly. Are you going to skip a pick stroke and like hold a note out over like one of them, like where I was like 1, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and like I was sort of like a gallop type approach? Are you going to just hold a note over the entire section of 3 beats worth? Are you going to do gallops on some of them? There's a lot of cool things that you can kind of do. Again, this 3-3-3 thing. I could also do like a gallop, like a 1 and 2 3, 1 and 2 3, 1 and 2 3. So like a yep. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3. Huh. That's hard. That takes some practice. But there's just, how are you going to interpret the number combination? Because each of these is actually a whole bunch of possibilities waiting to happen. And I just gave you 10 of them tonight. So, that's dozens at least of different possibilities that you can unleash in your music, and then apply it at different tempos, at different beat values in those tempos. Lots and lots of cool stuff can happen if you start with the rhythms I showed you tonight. So anyway, that is it for tonight. I am beyond out of time. Mike, thank you as well. I appreciate it, and thank you all for showing up. Thanks to Scott, and thanks to Matthew, and anybody else not in the chat tonight. I hope that you enjoyed this show, and I hope that you use this stuff. Again, if you are looking to get these tools that I'm practicing along to, go to guitarpracticetools.com. Start a free trial. It's a whole month. If you if you can't figure out if you like it by then, it's because you're probably not using it. Use it. Take advantage of it. It's not free because it's not worth a lot. It's just free because I want you to get it. I want you to get it, use it, get hooked on it because it's awesome, and then just pay $10 a month and be able to sustain that, because most people spend more than that on lunch one day, every day. So anyway, guitarpracticetools.com. If you're looking for something more than that, go to ShredMentor.com, fill out the form, tell me your influences, your goals, let's set up a free introductory session, talk a bit more about what I can do for you and what you're looking to do, and we'll see if this is a good match, because I will take you as far as you want to go if that is the case. But I can only take on so many people, and I'm looking for the right people who have their goals kind of geared toward this life where we're creating music, putting out there, doing things with it, and not just sort of theorizing in a small bubble. All right, we want to actually really use this stuff, create real music that gets out there in the real world, even if you're doing it all by yourself, because that's what I've been doing for 11 years or so. Still getting stuff to happen, but anyway, so that is it for tonight. ShredMentor.com is the place to be. GuitarPracticeTools.com if you're just looking for the tools. Until next week, though, I hope you rock on with these tools. And those of you who are in classes and lessons with me, I will see you in the next day or two. So rock on until